All right, Jimmy, we're going to start in three, two, one. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. No matter where you're watching us from around the globe, I say thank you for allowing us into your homes, but most importantly, into your hearts. If you're watching us on the DBNA television network this afternoon, a sincere thank you and continue to support the network sponsors, the other talent, and other wonderful shows here throughout the network. If you're listening to us in podcast form today, Jimmy Morris and I say turn that knob up and let us put that flavor in your ear. We're here to inspire you, to empower you, and fill you with tons of tools for your toolbox. It's time once again, ladies and gentlemen, to lace them up. You're about to be coached up with the Coach Scott Field Show. Jimmy Morris. Jimmy, how are you doing today? And welcome to the show, my friend.
Glad to be here, Coach. Thank you.
Thrilled to have you. I know you're super busy. You've got a lot of speaking engagements and you've got your book that we're going to talk about. Dream Makers, surround yourself with the best to be the best. Jimmy, it's just an honor to have you.
It's my honor. Thank you.
You got it. Well, you're coming to us from Texas today?
I am San Antonio, where it's, I think, 97. The heat index is 110. It's really cool outside.
Well, I'm out here in Salt Lake City, and we've been over the hundreds for several days, but we just had some storms come in and kind of cool things down a little bit. But we're going to heat it up a little bit with this interview.
All right, I got it.
All right, let's do it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, a lot of people in our circles, this man needs no introduction. If you watch the Disney movie, The Rookie, Dennis Quaid played this gentleman right here. This is Jimmy Morris, and he's got a phenomenal story. Not only that, but also Parkinson's. He's an author. His wife, Shauna, is tremendous. He has 4 children and just an outstanding guy with an amazing message for all of you today. So, Jimmy, let's dive right into that.
You got it.
All right. So, tell us a little bit. I mean, we a lot of us saw the movie, but how close did Disney come to what your true life was really like?
I think over 80% is a common theme. Dennis and I came up with that percentage, and most of it is true, especially the kids in the high school
Wow.
and all that. And people are like, we got interviewed one time. I won't tell you by who or what network, but we sat down and this lady looks at Dennis and she goes, "What drew you to this movie?" And he goes, "Because the real guy is right here." She goes, "Weren't you afraid stuff was made up?" He goes, "If this was made up, I wouldn't have done it. This is too crazy to be made up." And so we just had a good time with it. And, third day on set, Dennis comes up to me. He goes, "Why aren't you having fun?" And I said, "Because I have no idea what's going on." He goes, this doesn't happen to everybody. Enjoy it. And then he asked me, he goes, "Now we're fixing to go into this scene where you come up with a bet with your kids. What would you say right now?" And I just start rattling stuff off like I did with those kids. He's not writing anything down. I'm like, he's not writing anything down. This doesn't matter. And then they go back and they say action, and word for word, he says exactly what I did. I went, "Oh yeah, you're a professional."
That's got to be neat. What was it like getting to be around the set? And matter of fact, you had a cameo as the umpire, but to just be around someone as professional and could just, emulate your role in your life like a Dennis Quaid.
It was amazing. When he took the part, he said, "If you see anything being filmed that you do not agree with, you tell me and it's out." And he was true to his word. And so we had a great time together. We would film, and then he would come in, we would eat, and then he would go play with his band at night. And I'm like, "I am like a decade younger than you. How do you have that much energy, man?" And just nonstop energy, go, go, go. And he still does it. And it's still amazing to me that he has that kind of energy. But being on a set with 200 people putting your life on film is a little bit daunting because they're looking at you every time they film something to see if you agree with it. And I'm like, they filmed it from the end to the beginning. I'm like, I have no idea what you guys are doing right now. And
Wow.
even to the point where when they finished filming and editing, they called my wife Shauna and I out to Burbank to watch the movie. And so it's like 3.5 hours long. It's in black and white. There's no music yet. And they're like, "Well, how do you like it?" I'm like, "Okay." And 2 weeks later, literally 14 days later, I spoke in Nashville at a religious broadcasters convention. And I had to speak after everybody watched the film. And I had to quit crying before I could go up. I was stunned. It was just
Wow.
the most fantastic finished product I'd ever seen. I was like, wow, that is amazing. And just blown
Wow.
away.
That's, and I heard you touch just now on your faith and, on your website, which I think is a phenomenal website. I'm going to have you share that information with the viewers, but you are faith based and faith driven. And I love that you pull from that faith, quite frequently throughout your life and throughout your journey.
Absolutely. There's no reason I should have been able to go back at 35 throwing harder than I did when I was supposed to be young and talented, other than God. And man, you look back and you see all the places that you've been touched in your life by God, and you're like, there's no other reason for me to be around or to have survived or to be able to achieve what I've achieved, including all the Parkinson's stuff that we've been through,
Wow.
without my faith intact. And did I still try to mess it up? Absolutely. I'm human, man. I tried to mess stuff up all the time because I know better than everybody else what I need. And a lot of times I was wrong, but he's always faithful and he's always with me. And he's always found a way to show me exactly what I need, including the part in the movie. They couldn't really allude to it, but there were 3 different times when I wanted to quit. And I thought, I have a job at a great big high school in Fort Worth. I can go back and I can coach football, be the head baseball coach, and teach science. And this is what I'm good at. That's what I'm successful at. I failed at this other thing so many times. And then it ends up working out. And the coach who had hired me, he goes, go be a kid this summer. And when you get done, your job's waiting for you. And I said, yes, sir. The
Wow.
next time I saw that coach, he was watching me pitch at the ballpark in Arlington.
Hey, Jimmy, that gives me chills just hearing you recapture that story and that scene, because it's a powerful scene in the movie where all the players are up there and they're watching you, and you get, you come out of the bullpen. And I just think it's a great story in perseverance, but yet you also kept your word to your team that you said, hey, we win this district. Okay, I'll go try out. And I don't know if that was the inspiration that they needed, but you guys, that group pulled together and pulled it out.
Yeah, when I pushed in, they pushed back, and we made each other better. And I think one of the lessons that my grandfather taught me was remember who you are and whose you are. And in that, you can draw up any kind of meaning you want. For me, it's don't do anything you wouldn't have anybody see you do at any time, because it's not what you do when you know people are watching that makes you who you are. It's what you do when nobody's watching you at all that makes you who you are. And that's about good character. And now I'm watching these kids celebrate. And in my mind, I'm 35. Most of my kids are Hispanic, so their moms are making fresh homemade tortillas for us every time we get on the bus. And I'm like, this is not a player's diet, man. This is a scouting diet. And so I weigh 260 pounds, 9 surgeries in. And let's not forget that at 28, I had a surgery in which the doctor cut 85% of my deltoid out of my shoulder and said, you will never pitch again. It's not possible.
Wow. Wow.
God
And
said, God said nothing's impossible.
right. And just hearing that story, I suffer from, well, I'm not going to say I suffer. I'm a RA survivor, and I was diagnosed back in 1986. I was a Hall of Fame athlete in the state of Indiana, took an oral polio vaccine that caused my immune system to go awry, was bedfast for 9 months, and the Mayo Clinic said that I would be in a wheelchair at the age of 25. But we persevered and have had a wonderful journey. And again, being faith based and knowing that, there is a purpose, and this test is only a testimony. And you've been tested multiple times with 40 plus surgeries in your life.
Oh, 70 surgeries. And
70
I,
surgeries.
I was born with asthma. Within 24 hours, I had pneumonia. And they told my mom he will never get out of the hospital. If he
Wow.
does, he will never play on grass or play outdoors ever.
Wow.
And you know, there's so many things, and people can give up at any time. And that dream may be right around the corner. And when you quit, you don't know how close you actually were. And I don't want people to wake up one day and go, what if I would have tried a little bit harder? What would have happened if I'd have given it everything I had instead of me kind of doing it? And I don't want people to ever give up or ever give in, because there is so much more that we can do. Like speaking for 22 years now, I'm the last person on the planet should be a speaker ever. My dad, I grew up with a father who was physically and verbally abusive, who, when my brother was born, he's holding my little brother in his arms. He looks down at me and he goes, "This is the one we wanted. We never wanted you." And when you're a little kid, you hear that and you're always trying, I don't know, to raise yourself up and show him that you deserve to be there. But he's always there to knock you back down. The person who should be loving you and urging you on towards your dreams is actually the person tearing you down.
Wow.
And there are so many people who have a story like that that have shared them with me after I've spoken to them over the years, that it's just somewhere along the way we get lost and we get broken, and a lot of people give up, and we don't need to give up.
Yeah, great, great story, Jimmy. Thank you for sharing that because that is powerful. Because to know of that childhood trauma and that mental abuse that's going to happen day in and day out, that toxicity is such a web that you were able to, find strength to draw from to, let that be motivation to prove and gain that recognition. I'm assuming that was faith based also for you.
Absolutely, all along the way. At 15, after watching my parents throw, hit, curse, and do things you promised never to do, my parents did me the biggest favor they never knew they did for me. They moved me, ironically, into my father's house with his parents in Texas when they lived in Florida. And I thought, oh, that's great. He came from somewhere. They're going to be just like that. And when I walked into their house, I had two rules. If you do it, own it. Own it, live up to it, and move on. And number two, tell the truth, because when you tell the truth, you do not have to remember what you said.
Great
And I'm just
words.
like, wow, if we could take that to DC right now, that would be awesome message.
Oh, that and you know what? And it needs to resonate, and we need to share that and get this content out there, ladies and gentlemen. We're joined by Jimmy Morris today. He's down in Texas and being a part of the Coach Scott Field Show. And I implore you, we got to share this content because the words that he's sharing, the wisdoms that he's sharing, the testimony that he is sharing with you today is faith based, comes from his heart. The spirituality is resonating. And Jimmy, I thank you for that because there's a vulnerability into that. And I love that you are strong enough and courageous enough to say, you know what, I am faith based and I am led by God. And I think that's a wonderful tool.
Well, thank you, Coach. I appreciate that.
So let's kind of get into, I saw a video and you're out and you're jogging and your message is, you suffered with Parkinson's disease. And over my shoulder, I've got a book written by Brian Grant, who played for the Portland Trailblazers, who is also stricken with Parkinson's disease and has the tremors. And he does a lot of great work with his foundation to raise money for Parkinson's. But you too suffered from that Parkinson's disease. Kind of share into that, leading into that story, how you kind of noticed the tremors or things that were going on, and how you come to persevere, and what were your tactics to beat that Parkinson's disease, because it's a phenomenal story once again.
2001, I signed with the Dodgers. Dr. Job had done my Tommy John surgery twice, and he saw what kind of shape I was in. So he told the Dodgers, he said, "You need to sign this guy." And so in 2000, and during Christmas, I went out and worked with him at Chavez Ravine. I would either be at Dr. Job's clinic or I would go out to the field, take grounders, hit, do PFPs, all the fundamental stuff. I would throw. I am throwing so well. Everybody is just stunned. I'm lifting weights every day. 5 days later, from leaving there to going to Florida, where we had spring training at the time, something happened where when I got to Vero Beach, I was scared of the ball coming back at me in 5 days. And they would hit a ground ball at me. I would bend over, the outfielders picking it up, or they would bunt and I would bend over and if the catcher's picking it up 3 feet in front of home plate, I couldn't judge the ball. I couldn't bunt. The guy who taught people how to bunt couldn't even catch the ball with the bat. And all in 5 days. And I got scared and I thought, if I throw it up there 100 miles an hour and somebody hits it like at Stanton, hits it back 115, I'm like the kid from Oakland the other night. I'm going to get hit and I can't move. And so I quit and I just told them, you know what? My arm didn't feel good because I didn't want anybody to know what was going on because I didn't know.
Yeah.
And over the next 10 years, my wife and I chased all kinds of doctors down all over the world. And finally, I got to this neurologist who did a brain scan, and you drink this radioactive fluid, they send you through the MRI. And before I could get to the parking lot, they stopped me and they said, you need to come back in and see the doctor. And she goes, I think you have Parkinson's, and I'm sending you to this guy in Houston who's one of the best in the world at diagnosing. And so I go out there, absolutely cannot stand the doctor. But he's going, you have CTE induced Parkinsonism. And I said, what's that? He goes, you've had too many concussions. And I said, all right, how do you prove that? And he goes, well, you have to die. And I said, that's not going to happen right now. And then he gives me medicine. Well, the medicine he gave me made my stomach stop working. So then I have stomach surgeries, all these nerve surgeries along the way. So for 12 years after baseball, I'm having nerve surgery after nerve surgery after nerve surgery. Eventually, my wife has to travel with me because I have to do speeches. And at that time, business suits were still in. And so I can't tie my tie. I can't button the buttons of my shirt. I can't put cufflinks in. And I've got tremors in my left hand. Then they started in my right hand. Then I start dragging my leg. And it was the weirdest thing because how it started was I would get a sinus infection. My neck would lock up. And then I would get a headache. And people go, oh, you got a headache, take Advil, call me. And this headache would come January 1st and in June 1st. And then I'm like, oh, this is what it's like not to have a headache. And then June 4th, sinus infection, neck lockup, headache till Christmas. And I can't get away from it. And so 70 surgeries in 15 years, add that up, you're on opiates before, during, and after to get well. I don't ever mistake those. But when that wasn't working, the flawed human part of me goes, I'll add my own concoction. So I'll start drinking vodka with it. Maybe that'll get rid of the pain, because I was diagnosed with pain spectrum Parkinson's. Oh man, I end up in rehab. Don't remember Christmas of 2016, a week. End up waking up for the first time. And my pastor is my counselor at the center. And so I walk in, he's been to every major league stadium in the country. He's got mementos from every stadium. He pulls me in and he goes, love the movie. Dennis did a great job. Why are you here? And I said, yeah, I lost my way. And he goes, what do you mean? I said, well, I wasn't trying to die, but I wasn't trying to live either. I just kind of isolated myself, which is what Parkinson's does. You want to isolate and sit still. And if the longer you sit still, the quicker it attacks you. And so I said, that's what I did. He goes, so what about Jesus? And I said, he's always with me. Jesus is always with me. He goes, so what you're telling me is Jesus is your co-pilot? And I said, yes. He goes, okay, another question. If Jesus is in a vehicle with you, why is he not in charge? I was like, huh. And for the first time, it was like a light switch. I realized that I'm not having to bring up any kids at this moment. I'm not having to work on a marriage. I'm having to work on me. And over those 30 days, I get everything back. And my girls at church, and people are going to go, oh, that's tacky. No, that's what they want to be called. They're 50 to 90. They're not ma'am. They're my girls. And they would pray for me every single day. I watched everybody else detox and get incredibly sick, and it was horrible. I never felt anything. I started working out again. I start walking. And one of the things about rehab centers is that when people give up their drug or alcohol, they smoke. And so to avoid the smoke, I would get up at 4 a.m. and start doing my walking, because I didn't want to be around cigarette smoke because I have asthma. And I would get my workout in before breakfast. And when I got out of there, the first speech that I went to, they had every liquor known to man behind the green curtain. And it was open. They're like, hey, go ahead, man. Everybody else been drinking all day. And I had to tell you, I had no inclination to ever touch it again. It's been 5 years now. And I had just gotten lost because every doctor had told me, this is just Parkinson's. You're just going to get worse. You're just going to get sicker. That's just how it is. But to the point where my girls watch the speech and they look at me, they're like, Dad, you don't make any facial gestures anymore. And one of the things that I had noticed was people kept turning up their big soundboards so that they could hear me. Even though I had a microphone, they're having to turn it all the way up so I can broadcast across whatever room we're in. And so my voice is gone. I've got the shakes. I'm not moving my arms when I walk. And that takes me back to Seinfeld and Elaine making fun of that lady who didn't move her arms. And I thought, I look like that. That's not going to happen. You're going to get sicker. You're going to get sicker, to the point where my elderly mom bought me a cane to walk around the block. And, you know, there's a feather on front of the book you held up for a reason. And that's for chapter 10. And chapter 9 is a rehab chapter. Chapter 10 is a faith chapter. And something so incredible happened after rehab and everything else that, let's just say it, you saw me jogging again. I run 5 to 7 miles a day. I lift every day, and I'm ready to get out and get busy because I'm well. Last year was the first surgery I ever had on my own initiative, my own elective surgery. I went back to my neurosurgeon, who had put my deep brain stimulator in so it could help regulate my dopamine, and he took it out.
Wow.
And I've just gotten healthier and healthier, and people look at me now and they're like, how dare you say you had Parkinson's? And I'm like, I don't know what your story is, and it's probably horrible if you're getting that angry at me, but you did not see me at my worst. And you do not understand where I came from to get back to where I am now. And your story is your story, but my story is my story. And faith has helped so much for me because the ladies kept helping. I can't call them late. My girls kept praying for me. And for whatever reason, God's not done with me. And he says I still have some stuff to do. And so I've got my health back and I'm ready to go.
Wow, Jimmy, I tell you, you know, I'm a firm believer because with my rheumatoid arthritis, motion is my lotion. And I feel better when I can get out and trigger those endorphins and get that dopamine going and have those positive synapses firing. And, you know, it lubes up the joint. So you're preaching to the choir when I hear you say this, but I'm hoping that the viewers out there watching are hearing the pain and the suffering that you went through, and yet you were able still to push through that and persevere and just take another step forward. And now you're out there jogging every day and you're lifting weights. My man, you look phenomenal. You're in great shape. And
Thank you.
that pushing through are some of those life lessons that you can learn through sports, because I do believe that sports and life have so many parallels. And if we can take those
Absolutely.
life lessons that we learn through our sports and apply them daily, it's going to make us a better version of ourselves daily. Do you not agree?
Absolutely. One of the things, when the kids won a district championship back in 1999, I'm sitting on the bus because as coach, you know this, and all other duties as assigned, I'm the bus driver also. And so I go back and I start the bus. I'm looking at these kids celebrate an accomplishment that not even they thought they could accomplish. And for the first time in my life, I get taken back from 15 to 18 in the tutelage of my grandparents and realize what they were teaching me. It's not about me, it's about we and what can we do. And if we're a team, everybody goes, oh, it's the people on the court or it's the people on the field. That's the team. No, we have scorekeepers, we have announcers, we have parents, we have friends, we have people on the field, people on the bench who need to be ready to go in at a moment's notice. We have coaches, we have assistant coaches, we've got everybody. That makes us we. And so, you know, one of the lessons I taught my kids, I think, is tantamount to this, and I had to relearn it myself. When you put that uniform on, not only do you represent yourself, but you represent your family, your school, your city, your state. We have a whole lot to live up to. And we can either live up to expectation or down to expectation. Which one are you going to choose? And all this is running through my head. And I want to go back for a second and go, yeah, rehab sucked. And I had to relearn my thinking because I wasn't going to give up now when I was ready to live. But because of my wife and my girls, my boys had already gotten married, moved off, and my girls and my wife, they are my strength, and they've helped me through all of it. And they've watched me at my worst and they've watched me at my best. And I think they like me at my best. And so that's what my goal is. I'm not trying to make me better for me. I'm trying to make me better for other people so that I can tell other people there's hope.
Wow, and Jimmy, that's it's so true, and that's the name of the book is Dream Makers, and I got to thank you because when your wife sent this book off to me, you actually signed it for me, and I'm going to let people know that how class of an act you are. It says, "Hey, Coach Scott, be a dream maker. God bless Jimmy Morris, the rookie," and then you got Hebrews 11:1. Dream makers. Surround yourself with the best to be the best. Get out and get this book. Jimmy, where can they find that book? Where can they get a copy of it? Where can they get a hold of it to get this inspiration,
Yeah.
to get this empowerment, to get these tools?
I still have a library of them at home. So jimtherookiemorris.com, and they'll get it signed that way. Otherwise, they'll have to get it through Amazon or one of Barnes and Noble and then send it to me for me to sign. You go
Wow.
straight to our site, you can get it signed and sent to you. And I don't make fun of anybody, right? I use the mistakes that I've made to help people. The book is written like I speak on stage. I want to draw everybody in and take them down a timeline and say, life doesn't do this, life does this. And we're always on that roller coaster. And when it's good, we don't think it's too good because sooner or later we're going to get back down, and then we can't think we're too down and we've got to go back up again. And if we get in one way or the other, we're either in for a big fall or an incline that we cannot achieve.
Wow, and and the book has been phenomenal, and I've read through several chapters already. I haven't gotten completely through the book, but you share a lot of wisdom and a lot of your personal journey. Even after the baseball career, and I really do highly recommend, not just because you're on this show, but go out and get a copy of this Dream Makers because I really do feel it's going to put tools in your toolbox, whether it's personally or it's professionally, but just to talk about that drive and that perseverance and to keep on going and to never quit. And you're providing hope. And, you being that mentor, Jim, I know that, has inspired a lot of people through Disney and through that powerful platform. But this book here is just a phenomenal tool. Was the inspiration to write the book just to kind of share your journey with others so people could learn through your story?
For 20 years, the most asked question after I speak and question and answer is, we love the movie. It was awesome. The story is great. Dennis was awesome. What have you done since baseball? And so for 20 years, I had all this great stuff to put in it, but I didn't have an ending. And because God has a sense of humor, he didn't give me one, he gave me two. And so chapters 9 and 10 are the two he gave me, including getting myself straight. And you know what? If we are honest, all of us are broken, and we all need someone else to push us a little bit at times when we need to be pushed so that we can help push others when we need to help push them. And we all need each other. And right now we've been divided so much that all we can do is argue and be angry and divide. And I don't like that. I want everybody to get together because as a country, we're young and we've made mistakes. And if you erase the history that this country's been through, we're doomed to repeat it.
Amen.
And God in his infinite wisdom, I don't know why I was healed. I don't know why I came back throwing 10 miles an hour harder. He's got something he wants me to do, and I'm trying to live up to that. And if I can, and I can go out and help other people by the mistakes I've made and have fun with it along the way and make people giggle and laugh a little bit and think, that's what I want to do.
Oh, see, and I think that's wonderful. And I mean, not only are you speaking about it, you're being about it. And you being on this show, taking time from your personal schedule just to share with our viewers today is a true inspiration because, again, you're out there every day, practicing what you're preaching. And I love that because, there's a lot of people out there who can talk a big game, but when they back it up and there's action behind that, wonderful things will manifest from that. So, Jimmy, I can't thank you enough for being a man of action and sharing your story with our viewers today. Because I'll tell you what, I'm going to continue to say this. It's phenomenal. And I'm just excited for you. I know there's great things for you. I know God is not done with you yet, and the path that you're leading and the inspiration that you're providing is healing to our communities and to our states and to our nation and throughout the world. We need this type of lessons daily.
I think so. We can all, I think we get to a point in our lives where we don't need to learn anymore. We know enough. There's never enough to know. We can always do something better. And if we're not trying to improve, then we're getting past. If we're getting past, someone else is going to get that dream that we want.
Great point, Jimmy. Um, let's go back to some of those stories of your athletic days. What was it like going to that open tryout after you talked to your kids and you said, "Hey, you guys win this district, you'll go give it another shot at a tryout." What was that like going out there with guys who were, you know, 2 decades younger than you, out there, competing for a position? Tell us, take us through that journey.
I showed up at that tryout with my kids who were 8, 4, and 1 at the time. I'm looking at these kids get out of their cars, and they're the same age or a couple of years older than the kids I was coaching. The parents are my age.
Yeah.
And I thought, what have I done to myself? And I
Wow.
go up to the sign up table, and Doug Gasaway was a scout for Tampa. He's been scouting for years. And he looks at me, he goes, "How many kids you bring to tryout?" And I looked down at mine and I said, "I brought 3." He said, "No, 2 tryout." And I said, "I brought me." And then I explained to him, I said, "I made a promise to a group of kids that if they did something nobody thought they could do, I would try to do something I know I can't do. It'll be embarrassing, humiliating. You'll get a great laugh out of it, but I'm doing this. Either you're going to let me throw or I got to find someone else, but I'm throwing to a major league scout."
Wow.
And I get done. And at this time I have hair, right? He looks up and he goes, "Why didn't you just shave your head like every other coach?" And I'm like, "Where were you 3 months ago, man?" And he's just giggling. And he goes, "These guys are here for serious business, Jimmy. They have to hit, they have to throw, they have to run. Do you want to run?" I said, "I don't run. I'm just here to throw." And he goes, "It's your last." I said, "Okay." I just want to be able to tell him I did it. And nobody would even play catch with me. That's the crazy old dude who shows up and wants to try out. No one wants to play catch with, right? I wouldn't have
Wow.
played catch with me either. And everybody else tries out, and he calls me out to the mound, and all the young guys threw like 20 pitches. And I'm up to about 60, and they're making fun of the fat old guy, and that's me. And when I finally get my first hint of how I'm doing, because by this end of the season with those high school kids, I can't get them out. And so I'm like, oh, I'm going to go impress some major league scout. That's going to be awesome. And but near the end of my tryout, he calls this kid out of the parking lot to grab a bat, and he goes, "You want me to get in there to face that?" And I was like, okay. I get done. The 19-year-old kid catching me runs up to me, said, "Sir," which hurt my feelings quite a bit. He said, "You threw better than anybody today." I said, "Son, that's because nobody here could throw." He goes, "No, you had them talking." I said, "I'm sure I did. Thank you." And he shakes my hand, wishes me luck, runs off. I put the kids in the car. It's Texas. It's 9 million degrees in the summer. Turn the air on. Gasaway meets me in my car. He goes, "I remember you. Back at Ranger Junior College when you were a football star, everybody wanted to make a picture out of you." I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "Jimmy, you were tall and thin and threw 88." And I said, "Yes, sir." He goes, "Well, I don't know you've done your time off aside from eat, but the first pitch you threw without warming up was 94. Everything after that went up to 98. And I'm
Wow.
stunned. I am stunned. And I'm like, the first thing that ran through my mind is there is a happy dance going on. If you're like, I throw gas, that's cool. The second thing was I've been throwing 98 miles an hour at high school kids. I'm getting sued is what I'm getting. And he said, "Look, don't be shocked if you get a phone call." He said, "When you came in to sign up, you were 35. Now you're 32. I said, "If I come back again, can I be 29? He didn't think that was funny, but we kept going. I get home, it's not one phone call, it's 12, and they want me to come back. So now I call my high school kids. And this is where talking the talk and walking the walk separate each other. I call my kids and I said, they want me to come back and try out. If I do good, they want me to sign a contract. And they said, "Coach, you told us if we ever had our dream in front of us, you chase it no matter what." And I said, "Well, I was lying." And they start giggling and I giggle. And so the next tryout, and rained so bad they had to hand me a brand new baseball every pitch. My three kids and half my baseball team are watching me throw. And rain so bad, I'm sliding up to my knee in mud every pitch, 98, 98, 98.
Wow.
2 days later, I'm in Florida getting in shape to go meet a minor league team on the road, all because of a group of kids.
Wow. So I hear that story, and you say a group of kids, but again, it was a we thing, and you pushed them, you inspired them. Now they're pushing on you, and they're inspiring you. And I'm sure just their presence being there, you didn't want to let them down, and you wanted to show them that you weren't afraid or scared. And you're just gonna do what you do. I see what's going on there, but I mean, what other lessons did you learn from your kids that year?
You should never give up. That it's not over until we decide it's over. Once it's over in here in your head, it's over. You're done. If you don't have the heart and you don't have the plan, you're not going to make anything work, no matter how good or talented you are. And I know this from the first time around. There are so many people, and you probably know this from the basketball court. There are a lot of people sitting at home watching the game they love on TV because they didn't put in the effort to do it, even though they were more talented.
Amen. Amen. Jimmy, I was blessed that, I got to see Steph Curry as a rookie. I was with the Golden State Warriors that summer at the NBA Summer League, and I saw a young man who came in who had a nice support system. His dad played in the NBA, and now here's a guy who blocked out the cynicism, blocked out all the negativity. Guys saying, he wasn't a good ball handler. He's too small to guard the two position. Didn't know if he could get his shot off against bigger defenders, and yet he just blocked out the white noise. He stayed focused. He was going through his routines, getting his reps in. He's transformed the game simply because he too didn't give up and he didn't listen to the negativity that was out there. As I'm sure there was probably a lot of guys doing the same thing when you're walking out to that mound at 35 years old saying, "Who's this guy? What is he doing? Who's he think he is?" But yet you had to block out all that and just focus on what you do and do your job.
Yeah, that was an amazing journey, man. When I walk out on the field for the first time, I've not seen my own kids in 3 months. I've not seen my high school kids in 3 months. My family is there. Johnny Oates, the manager for the Rangers at the time, God rest his soul, let 150 people in the game that day that had ties to me, right?
Wow.
And I didn't know this until later on. But when they brought me in that night, they said, Johnny looked over at his head scout and he goes, "Do you have any scouting reports?" He goes, "Man, the last time he pitched, they wrote on caves." I'm like, "You did not
Oh,
just say that, dude." But after the first game I pitch, I go into the clubhouse and the clubhouse kid from the Rangers clubhouse comes over with a sanitary sock full of baseballs and he goes, "There are some people who want your autograph." And I'm like, "What? Who?" He goes, "Pudge Rodriguez," and all. I'm like, "Are you
wow.
kidding me?" I mean, just it was awesome. What a great thing to happen. And all because when I pushed those kids, they pushed back and we made each other better.
Wow. See, I love hearing that, Jimmy. And I hope people are being inspired by hearing your words and you sharing your testimony. And, it's just a great thing of perseverance. And I just think if more people would persevere and not give up too early on their dreams or their goals or their aspirations, whether it could be a CEO of a team or whether they're getting into coaching or maybe they've got athletic aspirations or they want to be a doctor or a lawyer. It is so easy to just quit and give up. That's the easiest way out. But if they will just continue to fight through the negativity and fight through the ups and downs, the trials and the tribulations, this world could be a much better place because we just have too many guys who just won't give that extra effort and to be, extraordinary.
Yeah. My grandfather taught me it doesn't matter what color you are, it doesn't matter what language you speak. He goes, "It doesn't matter if you dig ditches or you're the president of the United States. If you cut us open, we all bleed red. We are the same color." And he said, "Don't ever treat anybody differently than you would treat your grandmother." And he made
Ooh,
me take my grandmother on lunch dates once a week the entire time I was in high school so I would know how to treat women. And just everything that he did had a mission to it. And he taught me for 3 years when they didn't have to do that. They didn't have to let me come into their house and teach me the things they taught me, but they did. And they kept this 15-year-old from falling off the rails and getting lost. And they said, not on our watch. And they taught me about giving back. They taught me about my faith. They taught me about having a sense of humor. They taught me about life. And coach, we all need that. And that's what our job is with the kids who are coming up. Because right now, everybody just wants everything handed to them. They don't want to put any work in.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of entitlement out there, but it feels like you and I are cut from that same cloth. That we're just going to keep pushing and trying to inspire others and trying to lead, guide, and direct. And you use a word mentor quite frequently. What is it to Jimmy Morris to be a mentor? What does that title really mean to you?
To teach things and basically to teach right and wrong. And when I say right and wrong, I'm not talking about right and wrong. I'm talking about what is going to make you a better person, not only to yourself, so that when you look in the mirror, you don't hide from yourself, but also from other people who are around you, because other people are going to look at you and they're going to go, it's not working for anything, or they're going to go, wow, that guy is busting his rear end, or that girl is busting her rear end. I got to do the same thing. And I think it's contagious and it can go one way or the other. And we need to get it going in the right direction, because there are no limits and dreams do come true and we can achieve anything that we want. And my grandfather taught me this also. The dream you start chasing may not be the one you end up loving the most. And on my way through all that journey, if I would have got that dream when I was 19 of being a major league pitcher, I would have probably taken it for granted, been a spoiled brat. But at 35, having been through everything I've been through and raising a young family and coaching and teaching kids and doing the things I did, it helped me respect the game for what it is. Not make it too big, but just respect it. And first the ballpark, last to leave. I had great friends on that team in Tampa, and I just love going to every venue. And there are so many more nice people than there are bad people. It's just the bad people who have big mouths.
Oh, great
We
point.
we need to find the good people and the great people, and those are the people we need to have around us.
Yeah, I truly believe you're only as good as the people you surround yourself with, and your book is a testament to it. Your daily actions are a testament to that. So I love that because I preach that often. I do believe, and it seems like it's cliche, steel sharpens steel, but one man's candle does not go out by lighting another man's flame. Why can't we all lift up, raise each other up and be great? And I think there's a lot of greatness that there is to be out there, but I love I love how you have that title of mentor and you're out there being a mentor to many of people in all the lives that you touch with your motivational speaking, your corporate speaking, your book. Obviously the way you're living your life, and you've got Shauna there with you and your children that you speak so highly of. It's wonderful to have that support system through good and bad, because you know social media, there's a lot of great stuff's out there, but it's so superficial. I mean, let's get back to the core of who we are with our values, our beliefs, and I believe that you do that daily.
Well, I appreciate that, Coach. I know you do too. Supposed to be in a wheelchair.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, I remember when the Mayo Clinic said that at the age of 25, hey, you're going to be in a wheelchair because your disease is so active. And I remember, even though I was in so much pain and I had been bedfast, and kind of similar to your story, my mom had to dress me and I couldn't squeeze a tube of toothpaste. But I remember looking over at my mom right when that doctor with the Mayo Clinic said that. And I just said, they don't know me very well, do they? And so, having that support system there and having their belief in me, and their constant love. I'll be honest with you. When I was at my worst, I was probably the closest thing to an atheist that you could find, because I'm like, here I am, 18 years old. I was a high school Hall of Famer. I'm playing the sport that I love. Why me? Well, it wasn't for me to question why, but that test just made me a stronger person, and that true character could come out. And yet, things that you're talking about, I hear you and your integrity that you're sharing daily. I think integrity is vital. And I feel like,
Yeah,
a man's character and integrity can be tested quite often, and it's how we overcome, to show what we can do and be those examples.
exactly. You know what? Going through the things that we've been through have made us stronger.
Amen.
And I don't put limitations on myself, but I have a pretty good idea of what I can do. And when I can push a little bit past that, and then the next day come back and push a little bit past that, that's what I'm looking for. I want to keep going onward and upward. I don't want to go backwards. I don't want to go down. And I don't want to end up in rehab again. And that's just not going to happen with me. I've seen how bad can be. Now I want to see how good can be.
Yeah, see, I love that. I think that's why when we're driving, that's why the windshield is this big and that rear view mirror is only that big, because it's easy to look back in that rear view mirror and say woulda, coulda, shoulda, if. But man, if we just keep
Yeah.
moving forward and we keep persevering and we keep pushing, good things are going to happen. Uh, Jimmy, talk about being in the bullpen after signing a contract and playing the minors. Of course, there were no cell phones, so it had to be much harder to contact your family at that time and your kids to check on them. But what was it like being in that bullpen and all of a sudden they're calling for Jimmy Morris to come out there at Ranger Stadium and pitch now for the Tampa Bay? Talk about what was that adrenaline rush like for you to jog out there and be on that mound in the big leagues?
What's going on in my mind is I've thrown 3 days in a row in the AAA playoffs. There is no way they're putting me in the game. And there's 40,000 people in the stands. Texas is in first place. And for 8 innings, I'm watching a big league game in the bullpen with my name and number on my back. And I am now a big leaguer talking to other pitchers about how to pitch the guys I might face. And in the 8th inning, you're like, get up. And I'm like, oh, they just want me to warm up in front of these people. That's cool. And then 2 minutes later, I'm in the game. And I have to tell you, when I opened the door to that bullpen, I saw every color that everybody was wearing. I heard all the noise. I
Wow.
smelled the popcorn, the hot dogs, the beer, the Cokes, the dirt, the gloves, all of it. I smelled all of it and I saw all of it. And as I made that journey into the mound, everything started flashing in front of me, the good choices, the bad choices, the ups, the downs. And by the time I stepped my spikes onto the dirt of the mound at Ballpark in Arlington, I'd come to one conclusion. I would not change one thing about my journey. That journey has made me who I am. And by the time I get to the mound, I've heard this my whole life. I was in the zone. And I thought,
Wow.
whatever. I heard nothing. I saw nothing. It was me and the catcher and our manager. And the catcher gives me the signs he wants to put up. I got a guy on first, good one. He's a very fast guy. Royce Clayton's an all-star that year. It could have been anybody. And I strike out the first guy I faced who was an all-star that year. And he could have hit a
Wow.
home run. It wouldn't have mattered to me any less. I was there. And the
Wow.
reason I was there was because I pushed those kids and they pushed me. And that moment I learned not to put limits on people or put them in a box. Because if you put them in a box, you have a tendency to keep them in a box. And we're not meant to be there.
Oh, see, I love that. You were a cage tiger, and your senses and your awareness was heightened when you're coming out there. And then all of a sudden you got locked in, and it was just you and that glove. And I love hearing that, because that's the extreme focus that you have to have, being that elite, 1%er. And it's just a phenomenal story. Again, I was a fan of the movie. I'm a fan of you, fan of your journey, and I just love what you're doing now that baseball is over to continue to empower and give back. Where can people, find you on your website and social media so they can, hire you to be a presenter and a speaker and, again, and to find this wonderful book? Let's share that with our viewers again, real quick.
Uh, Barnes and Noble, Amazon, or JimTheRookieMorris.com. Book, speaking engagements. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Instagram. And that's kind of a little bit of a lie because my wife helps me with Instagram because I'm old and I'm challenged with social media. But you can find me in any of those places. And I'm willing to put my life out there to help other people. And good choices, the bad choices, the great things that have happened, and the miserable things that have happened. I do it with a sense of humor. I do it with a sense of gratitude because going through all that has made me who I am now. And I am not the same person who walked away from baseball in 2001. I'm stronger and I have a better plan. And I have incredible heart because of my system that I have around me, my wife and my kids. And they push me to be better. And I want them to push me to be better.
Well, Jim, that humbleness and that humility, it comes through, but yet your bravery and courage is there. So tell us that website one more time where people can, go on there and do further research on the real rookie, Jim Morris.
At jimtherookiemorris.com. And that'll get you to my wife, Shauna. She's my manager. And technically, I sleep with my manager. So
A pretty
she'll
good
get back in
benefit there.
contact with you. Yeah, I know, right?
Well, she was wonderful to follow up with me and my request. It's just an honor and a privilege to have you on the show as a guest, and I want to stay in touch with you. And if there's anything that I can do for you from my end, man, please hold out. I'm just another follically challenged guy who loves going out there and trying to help others. So, Jimmy, I'm here for you, brother. We got
Yes,
two
sir.
or 3 minutes. Do you have any last words you want to share with the viewers and the listeners of the Coach Scott Field Show here this afternoon?
Oh, man. We can overcome obstacles and we can persevere, or we can give up and never know the answer. And, I watched my grandfather do a lot. And I think sometimes when we make mistakes or bad things happen, we need to sit back and find something humorous with it and giggle. I can remember when my grandfather, when I was 18, he had a menswear store in Brownwood, Texas, population 20,000, awesome store, men's suits that were very expensive. And he's in a wheelchair. He's fighting Lou Gehrig's disease and he can't hardly move anymore. And I'm up on a ladder stacking shirts for my grandfather on the shelf. And the door to the store opens. He and I are the only ones there. Everybody else is at lunch. I turn to see who it is. I fall off the ladder and I go through 3 steps, 3 shelves. And so I destroy everything. I'm 18. Your emotions are on your sleeve when you're 18. I'm crying. My cheeks are red. I'm embarrassed. And oh man, he's going to be furious because there is glass everywhere. When I get up, my grandfather, who is fighting Lou Gehrig's disease, is laughing so hard he almost falls out of his wheelchair. And with his good arm, he motions me over and he looks at me. He goes, "Quit being so serious." He said, "There's always going to be setbacks. There's always going to be things that happen that we're not accounted for. The best thing we can do is have a great plan and have more heart than anybody." He goes, "And remember this, there are going to be mistakes that you make and people are going to laugh at you." I said, "Oh, great. Now I'm getting laughed at." He goes, "The best advice I have to offer is to laugh back." I said, "Why would I laugh at myself?" He said, "Because other people will think you're crazy and they will leave you alone." And that was my grandfather. He fought in World War II and they went through the Great Depression and the recessions and all this other stuff. And I can't even imagine the things that generation saw that we are the benefit of not seeing. And what a great person he was. The man who was 6'3" and 260, who led a community on his shoulders when he was healthy, also did it from a wheelchair.
Wow.
And that's just who he was. I had big shoes to try to step in, to try to be that person. And if I even come close, it's going to be a life well lived.
Jimmy, I love hearing that. It sounds like your grandfather was a huge impact on your life, as my grandfather was on me. And I think there's a lot of valuable lessons that we learn and have wisdom if we're smart enough to ask the right questions to, older gentlemen who have lived and have had journeys and have had struggles, because there's a lot to learn from that. And too many people just want to go to social media and get all this superficial knowledge. But I'll tell you what, I've drawn great strength because of this interview. I feel I'm going to be a better version of myself. So for that, Jimmy, I thank you. God bless you on your travels. I hope we can cross paths sometime in the near future. Just love everything that you stand for, my friend. Thank you so much for blessing us, blessing me, and blessing our viewers with your wonderful journey today.
Coach Fields, thanks for having me on. God bless you and your family too. Thank you. and
God
keep
bless you.
fighting that RA stuff, man.
Hey, got to, because hey, like I said, motion is my lotion. We got to keep moving forward. Matter of fact, when this interview's done, I'm gonna go hit the mountains and see if we can find us a buck in velvet, or maybe find us some elk to bring home some venison.
There you go. I love that.
Well, hey, if you love that, you need to get out here and we need to go do it together.
Oh, I would love to do that, Coach. Please stay
Uh,
in touch.
Let's do it, my friend. Thanks. Tell Shauna thanks again so much. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the rookie. Jimmy Morris has been a wonderful guest. He exceeded our expectations. I implore you to go get the book, support him. I hope that companies who are listening will bring him out for speaking engagements. Again, Jimmy, God bless. And we'll see you again for another edition of the Coach Scott Field Show coming up soon. You've been coached up by one of the best, Jimmy Morris. God bless.
God bless. Thanks, Coach.